everyone. Hello, and welcome to the Become an Author podcast. I am your host, Jesse Bowen, president of Elite Publications, helping authors make the world a better place by telling their stories. And today we have a featured guest, and she's coming up with a new book release that's coming out next week, but it is available on her website. But we're going to talk about that. But before we get started, everyone has a story. Our podcast is about helping people to realize their story, share it with the world, because this is the way we make a difference. When I can share a story of how I have overcome something in life, someone else may be going through the same thing. Or if I can share a story about my life and that may inspire someone to change their life. This is the way that we have the opportunity to make a difference. So if you feel that you have a message that you want to share with the world, and today, Maggie has a great book out and we're going to be talking about it. But see, your story doesn't have to be a story of how you climbed the mountain all the time and became successful. Your story can be talking about being down and out, and then all of a sudden you become a leader, recognized in your community, and you're doing something positive, because everything that happens in our lives that may be perceived as bad, remember, if you're on the bottom, all it means is you're on the bottom. That doesn't mean that you're losing, because you can stand up and you can now achieve and be better. And this is what Elite Publications helps our authors to do, is to discover their stories, be able to write their stories, to publish their story, and then be able to market their story to the masses. And this is the way Elite Publications is making a difference in the world. One of the areas that we focus on is martial artists. We really have helped a lot of martial artists this year already to become international best-selling authors, to share their stories with the world. So as we start in our interview today, I want you to be thinking about, do I have a story? Is there something that I can share? We provide a lot of different ways of being able to do that, because we have our Elite Martial Artists of America compilation books, and Maggie is a co-author in our books, two of our books, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So let me get into the interview here. Again, we have Master Maggie Messina, and she is a dynamic martial artist. I've had the great honor of working with her over the past, 3 or 4 years now. She's on our board of advisors. So to make the board of advisors, you have to impress me. So she really does impress. And if you know of her, especially that New York area, you already know she's a dynamic person, martial arts school owner, and, wife and mom. She has all these things going on, but still has the time to reach out and share two of her books. And we're going to be talking about that today. Hey, Maggie, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I am doing, you know what I'm going to say, better, better, and better, try to make the world a better place. So let's start off by talking about you, introducing our audience to you. So give us some background. I know that, you're a martial artist. So tell us a little bit about your martial arts, your master in the martial arts. Where's your school located? Let's get some background on that first.
Sure. I presently live in Nassau County, Long Island. It's Albertson, New York. That is where my headquarters is. And I've been teaching martial arts for almost 40 years. Last year, I received my 8th degree black belt from my instructor, Grandmaster Ta-Sung Khan. And I also run a extensive off-site network at the local schools and nursery schools. Absolutely love what I do. I wake up every morning. It never feels like a work day. And I think that is why I do as well as I do, because I thoroughly love what I do.
So what motivates you to get involved in the martial arts?
I think, I was always athletic, and I had just graduated out of high school, and there weren't really any sports. College wasn't really an option because I had to work to survive. And, I was always very physically active. So my sister-in-law was a black belt, and she kind of introduced me to it one day in a park, and yeah, and I just fell in love with the movement. And then, I just came across a school, and it was Love at First Sight, and I've been in it ever since. It's just been my life completely.
Well, I know that you've done a great job in the martial arts. You're really a big supporter of women in the martial arts. And, you wrote this is actually your second book that you have actually written. And so let's talk about your books. And well, let's talk about why did you decide to write a book?
My first book I wrote, I was a different person then. I was very angry, and I felt like my story had to be told, because not just because of the story and it was my story, but because so many other people suffer out there. And it made me angry that everything, that had happened to me was still happening, and even more so, and how profound the mental illness and drug abuse is in the poor white neighborhoods and every other neighborhood. And watching people suffer, it just really it didn't sit well with me. Then I had my husband and I had taken one of our students in, a young man, and when I had gone to meet with his school district, it was a charter because they were getting ready to close down, and the way they spoke of him and the other kids that were left in the charter as if they were throwaway kids and that they would never amount to anything. So why do you even, the counselor looked at me and said, why are you even bothering? This kid's never going to make it. And I remember looking at her saying, I was one of those kids and I made it. No thanks to people like you, and that just really, really upset me. And I said, wow, things haven't changed, and it doesn't matter what, it doesn't matter where you're from. It's in every single neighborhood. So I just felt compelled to make the wrongs right and fight for this young man and fight for the rest of the kids in the world.
Well, I know didn't he just graduate from?
Yeah, he
college?
graduated. Yeah, he graduated from Marist College. He was this is a young man that was told that he was never going to amount to anything. I mean, he was failing out of school, 9th and 10th grade. And I sat him down and said, listen, what are your wildest dreams? If you're willing to put the work in, I'm willing to help you make that happen. And that's exactly what we did. And it was not easy by no means. There were a lot of ups and downs, but he now just launched his own app, Pike. It's a travel app. And he graduated from Marist College. He was the student body president. And he's a young, wonderful, young, smart man. And when I sit and talk to him, all I could think is, wow, how many kids like him never have that chance? And this young man's going to change the world, the part of the world that he lives in. And how many children are there that never get that chance to really become their full potential because of people who feel that we're throwaways just because of our economic or because of the way our parents are bringing us up and where we live. And it was just very important for me to get that message out there.
Well, that story is a very common story, and we're glad that you have written that book, and that's what, Making Maggie?
Yes.
And everyone, that book is also on Amazon. You can pick it up on Amazon. But remember, you can go to Maggie's website, and that is scrolling across our screen now, and pick up a copy of Making Maggie. And this is a really dynamic book that you had written, and Elite Publications came back and supported you and the rewrite and re-upload that book about a year ago. But to talk about that subject for a second, so you really found something instead of just internalizing that emotional part of what people were saying about this young man, you began to help him, to support him in making a change in his life. And now that has become a story. So this is the things that we're talking about, is whatever's happening in your life is happening in someone else's life too. And the problem becomes, in most cases, they don't have a solution, nor do they have an example or a model. how many kids are just lost because no one will take that moment in time to bring them in and help them? But as you said before, you could see your lifestyle of growing up and what was happening to you and the things that people were saying to you, and then to be able to see that in someone else and reach in and grab them. Because just think about it, there was a choice. There was a choice to reach out and help him, and there was a choice to just let him go and just, as the teacher said, why are you wasting your time? But there's an outcome. So when we as individuals, as human, and especially as martial artists, when students come into our program and we are training them, this is that excellent opportunity, because every child or person that comes into our school is not on the top level. They're not that successful. They may be failing, but we see it time and time again how they make that change. And so you've taken your story and matched with his story and sort of brought together in your book, Making Maggie. So I know I'm really excited, and we had a lot of fun bringing your book together, a lot of hard work.
Yes.
Bringing your new book together, Tattered Laces, A Sister's Promise. So let's take and dive into that. Then we'll go into the other books that you've done. So everyone remember that, with Master Messina, that she has, looked in her life, found something, and her book is changing lives. So when people pick it up, they get a chance to read it. And this is what you want to do. So if you've got a story that you want to share, a life experience that will help someone else, remember, this is the way you make a change. You don't always have to go out and donate money or do different things, which are very good. But remember, your story has power. And remember, when someone reads your story and then passes that story on, you never know the impact of that. So let's talk about Tattered Laces. And I know we had started on this book about a year ago. So tell us a little bit give us a sneak into Tattered Laces.
Tattered Laces is a book that I read that I had written for my siblings, basically, and it's a story of our life growing up and how they met their tragic demise during COVID. It was very important for me to tell the story because I think society thinks that when you look at someone and you see that they're very successful, or they're in their 40s and they're living life and they have a family, that everything goes away, all those scars go away. But it's important for people to recognize that if we don't work on ourselves and we don't take the steps that are essential for us to to get to the other side of what we have been through, it will eat you alive inside. And that happens with our self-belief system. For me, it was my self-belief system. I was always very athletic. I did martial arts. I was always very good at it, but only because I worked very hard. Yes, I did come into this life as a gifted athlete, but I worked extremely hard at everything. And on the flip side, my siblings, they weren't able to do that. They weren't able to find their way. They weren't able to find a place in the world where they felt okay with themselves. And they fell into drugs, and they fell into the bad behaviors, and it just brought them to their demise through drug overdose and suicide. And it was one right after the other. First it was my twin, then it was my little sister, and then it was my baby brother. And I said, this is so profound in people like our background, that I felt as if once you die, it's as if society says, oh, well, it's no longer a problem. They didn't make it because there was something wrong with them. No, they don't make it, and other people don't make it because there's something terribly wrong with society and the way it's looked upon. It's as if I don't see you, it doesn't exist. If I don't see it, it doesn't exist. But it does exist, and it's continuously repeating itself. because then people have children, and then they, the same thing with the next generation, and it just continues. And it's our job not to turn our heads and act as if, well, I made it, so it's not my business. There's something wrong with them. No, there's something terribly wrong with society. And it starts with the parenting, and it goes to the child care system, welfare system, and the people in the welfare system. And, the way these people are just able to have foster children and do what they do with them. And it's very well known out there. And then with the way the system's designed, where the social workers are so overworked and have so many caseloads, and in the end, when something happens, it's the social worker's fault, and really it's not. Someone has to do something. So I know I can't change the whole system, but I also know that I can't just sit here and pretend there's not a really big problem. So in any way I can, whether it's by speaking out, writing about it, that's what I'm here to do. And I do know that people have read my book and have said, wow, it was so brave of you to put your stuff out there like that. And, it's helped me tremendously. They're hard reads. They're not easy reads, but I didn't have an easy life. My life is great now. I have become who I am now because of everything I've been through. When my siblings passed during COVID, I wasn't sure I was going to make it. But then I knew that I had to stay alive to tell their story and to make a difference.
Well, everyone, we're doing the interview. If you're just joining us, with Master Maggie Messina, and she has a brand new book out, Tattered Laces, A Sister's Promise. You can go to her website and you can now order a copy of the book. If you order it from her website, she will sign this book and send it to you. And it is a must read. Everyone goes through something, and someone that's going through something. But you see, our life, if we don't tell the story, then we're not able to help someone on their way of whatever they're going through. And with Maggie's book, it shares the stories of her own siblings, that passed away. COVID was tough on everyone. I mean, COVID was, how many lives did we lose? And then the, mental illness, you really didn't go back 10, 15 years ago. We didn't hear about mental illness. Now every day we're hearing about mental illness. I was listening last night to the news. One of the pageant people relinquished their crown because of pressure and mental illness. So again, that's one of the things that we're hearing about. And in your book, it talks about, the things that you went through, that your family went through, losing 3 siblings. That's really, that's really tough. And, I had a nephew that passed away a few weeks ago. And when we're dealing with the drugs and things that's out there, and because they're trying to find something within, and, people, they go to drugs and they think that they're going to find it in there, for a moment of happiness. But we need to be able to find happiness every day. So, again, commend you on your book. And I know that you have, you're one of our co-authors in the first and second edition of the Elite Martial Artists in America. And your chapters were phenomenal in there. And the book is about leadership, it's about life, and it's about business. And I know, with your school, again, tell us the name of your school and where is it located?
It's Take Hold Taekwondo Martial Arts, and it's located in Albertson, New York, which is right over the border of Queens. I've been here almost 25 years. And again, doing very well. Work very hard to keep it up. And you do mention COVID, and, they say about 60% of the martial arts schools closed during COVID, and it was very tough. Anyone that, didn't have all their didn't dot their I's and cross their T's, didn't come out of COVID. But it's, a lot of people say, oh, I'm going to open up a martial arts school because they think it's easy, because they see the teaching aspect on the mat. that's the best part. There's a lot of moving parts, and I use it as a tool to reach children and help empower them and teach them, the aims to achieve in life, perseverance and self-control, and to be kind people, good people from the inside out. The kicking and punching secondary. It's about helping children. And I think most of us go into martial arts because we want to help every child. We want to be that person to, plant the seeds that they may need to grow later on in life. And that's what my martial arts school is like. It's to empower children and empower people to become their very best. And so far, so good.
Yeah, and that's great. And everyone, again, we're here with Maggie, Master Maggie Messina, and we're talking about her new book that's out, Tattered Laces, A Sister's Promise. And, Maggie, speaking about, your views in teaching, last year I had a chance to meet some of your students at the Who's Who Awards last year, and they were the first students that we actually started a program called the Future Leaders in the Martial Arts. And, I really must commend you on the quality of the young men and the young ladies that you're developing. They were some of the nicest kids. Really, they're really the type of kids you really want to look back and say, wow, that's one of my black belts there. That's one of my students, because they had all of the characteristics of a good teacher. And when you see the student, you actually see the teacher. And I see that, your life experience of having these, some would call pitfalls on your way up, and how you have been able to recognize these different things that's happening with students that are coming to you, and you have a system to be able to help them to come through that. So again, much commendment to you as a person, and thank you so much for being able to have the courage to write about your life stories and put it out there that others can learn from that. And everyone, this is what we're talking about, is books that are written by authors that share something that we all can learn from. We don't have to always cut down all the trees to make the pathway in life, because there are other people that have already done that for us. And they share this in their books, they share it in their articles, they share it in their audio programs, they're shared in their speaking programs. And so this is really a big key for you. Now, Maggie, I know you have another program that you've been doing for the sport karate for the young ladies. So let's talk a little bit about that.
So it came from Swerve.Change. It's an organization that I have that helps others change direction, meaning by whether it's, through education, poverty, mental health. And so I saw a need in the martial arts since I can remember, for equality for females. And it's not just that it was never about just the monies. It's about the playing field, the recognition, and the way that women and young girls are being viewed and treated, as far as categories and divisions and a fair shake. So I started the Female Fighters Manor too. And it kind of started like at the same time, kind of like I got the name from the Me Too movement, and people say, oh, well, that really didn't work out. You shouldn't use the name. But, I say to myself, I'm all about making the wrongs right. So if I can give that too movement, a positive light by calling it Female Fighters Matter too, and bringing recognition to female athletes, then let's do it. So it started, and right now what we do is we bring money to events to make sure that the playing field is the same for the women and young girls as the men. It doesn't mean that we don't do the same for men when there is unfairness, because we do. The past couple of months, what I've been doing is, because I remember as a competitor, you make these national teams, international teams, and it's expensive to go to another country and compete. And I remember the times that I couldn't go because I just couldn't afford it. And I do believe if I had been able to go early on, it could have, brought me in a different direction. So what I've been doing is I see these young girls, the teams that they make, and I kind of like do it as a surprise. So they'll set up GoFundMe, and then I'll just pay what they need to go. And these are people with some really good talent, and if they don't get help, then they're not going to be able to show up. And then I do believe that that you're going to miss out on the real talent. So we basically go and we just make it possible for these young girls. Right now, I'm in the midst of making it a nonprofit, and I have a team. Just formed a team that I'm working with for this movement, and it has some good promise. It's going to be, it's going to help change a lot. And I'm not about, or the movement's not about, being a superhero. It's about helping other people become superheroes. It's not about, us as the owners to have our face blobbed, blurted everywhere or whatever. It's for these young girls to get the recognition they deserve and to get the playing field. Because again, going back to, our belief system, if we're made to believe that we're less than, which my generation was, and that we're not as strong in various ways, we grow up with that belief system, and then we're not able to become the people that we could become, because we have this belief system that is not confident. So again, I mean, that's what's important, I think, for people today, the young girls today and the women, is that for us to help them build a belief system. You can do anything you want to, as long as you find the how and the way, and you do the work. Nothing's going to fall on your lap. And if it does, eventually somebody with talent's going to come and take it away. So that's what Female Fighters Matter too is about.
And everyone, you've already heard the different things that Maggie's involved in, the people that she's helping, being a part. Her first book, Making Maggie, is a phenomenal book. This book that's coming out, get a copy of it. Go to Maggie's website, which is www.makingmaggie.com. Order a copy. And again, the big launch is scheduled for next week. And so our goal is that this book becomes a #1 Amazon bestseller. So support our effort. Give it as a gift. And you can, you may know someone that's going through something in life. Maggie's book is a perfect book to shed light and to give them hope, and to be able to give them the inspiration to move their lives. And I know that Maggie, you are also a speaker. So if someone would like for you, a group, someone may not be a martial arts school owner, but maybe in the community would like to have you as a speaker, how would they reach you?
You can reach me at swerve.org. swerveforchange.org. You can just fill out the questionnaire there, or you can call me at 516-554-2214, or just Google my name and you can contact me that way as well.
So everyone, remember, jump in there. Let's make Maggie's book a success. It's going to be really the hot releases next week. Hey, it's coming up. A special weekend is coming up.
Yes.
This is a great book to give. Mother's Day is coming up. So it's a great gift to give to your mom, your sister, brother, whomever, because this is a book that no matter what the gender is, it's a book that will help anyone to be able to move from where they are in life to the next positive level. And you can be that person helping them to be able to make a difference in that. So remember, this is sponsored by Elite Publications. Everyone has a story. You just have to get it out. So if you're interested to become a published author, you have a story that you want to share with the world, but you may not know how to get started, then reach out our team. And remember, that's www.elitepublications.org, or call, text 919-618-8075. Remember, Everyone has a story. You just have to get it out. Be blessed.
Thank you.